Good evening. Welcome. We have a very large crowd here tonight. We're going to stand. We pray for the wisdom to make decisions that are beneficial to the people represented here. Empower us to speak honestly, reflect wisely, and vote with integrity. We seek your guidance tonight. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Wingo?
Here.
Ms. Chambers?
Here.
Mr. Wynn?
Here.
Ms. Whalen? Here. Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Cable?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
We have for consideration approval of the minutes of the special meeting of June 17, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. Wingo?
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the oath of office for firefighter EMTs, paramedics, and firefighter paramedics. Chief Wren.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Tonight, we'd like to welcome our newest personnel to the city of Florence. Gentlemen, as I read your name, will you please come up front? First off, we have firefighter EMT Joe Melville. Joe started his career at Southgate Volunteer Fire Department in 2017. He worked part-time at Southgate and Ludlow until he was hired full-time with the city of Erlanger in 2023. Firefighter Melville is excited to work for the city of Florence and continues to learn and grow in his career. Joining him tonight is his father Paul, mother Melissa, brother Jacob, and his wife Molly. Next up, firefighter EMT Mutaz Al-Ramali is from Union, Kentucky, and started his fire and EMS career in 2023 as an intern with the Ludlow Fire Department. As an intern, he completed his IFSAC certifications and obtained his EMT license. He plans on finishing his fire science degree through Gateway to better serve the city of Florence. Firefighter Al-Ramahi is accompanied by his parents, Catherine, Eamon, also Al-Ramahi. Next up, firefighter EMT Zachary Doyle is from El Reno, Oklahoma, and started his career in medicine as a Navy corpsman for the 2-3 Weapons Company. After the U.S. Marine Corps, firefighter Doyle worked for Plaquemines Parish Fire Department for 2 years before moving to Kentucky in 2024. Firefighter Doyle obtained his EMT license and is excited to begin his career at Florence Fire Department. Firefighter Doyle is joined by his fiancée, Elena, tonight. Next up, firefighter EMT Aiden Bray is from Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. He started his career as a volunteer and eventually an intern at the Fort Mitchell Fire Department in 2023. He is enrolled at the Gateway Fire Sciences program and is excited to serve the city of Florence and start his full-time career. He's joined by his mother, Christy, and sister, Maddie. Firefighter EMT Justin Schmidt resides in the west side of Cincinnati, Ohio, and attended Cincinnati State's Fire Service Technology program. Upon obtaining his firefighter 1 and 2, as well as EMT, he became a part-time firefighter for Delhi Township Fire. Justin is very eager to serve the city of Florence and has plans to attend paramedic school in the future. Justin is joined by his parents, David and Leanne, as well as his significant other, Isabella. Firefighter EMT Bradley Althauser started his fire service career as a volunteer his senior year of high school in 2015. In 2016, he was hired by the city of Richmond, Kentucky. During his time, he obtained a bachelor's degree in occupational safety with minors in homeland security and fire and safety engineering from Eastern Kentucky University. Bradley is excited to grow his career both as a firefighter and provider with the city of Florence. Bradley is joined by his wife Mackenzie and oldest daughter Elizabeth. Firefighter EMT Cody Flickinger grew up in Union, Kentucky and started his career as a volunteer firefighter in 2020 with Crittenden Fire Rescue and obtained his EMT license in 2024. Cody is ecstatic to serve the city of Florence as a firefighter EMT and continues to grow his knowledge and experience. He has aspirations of becoming a paramedic and advancing his career to serve the city even further. Today, Cody is joined by his wife Kayla and 3 kids, Gracie, Raylyn, and Jackson. Firefighter EMT Connor Gregory. Connor started his fire career as an intern with Verona Fire Department his senior year of high school. After that, he was hired part-time at the Verona and Union Fire Departments. Connor plans to get his paramedic's license in the future and is ecstatic about his opportunity to serve the city of Florence. Connor is joined by his parents, Joe and Amy, as well as his brother, Keegan. Firefighter EMT Kyle Merkin. He grew up in Bright, Indiana. He started his career in the fire service in 2020 with the Bright Volunteer Fire Department. In March of 2020, he obtained his Firefighter 1 and 2, as well as EMT and other technical certifications. He was hired part-time by the Whitewater Township Fire Department in November 2020. Kyle is excited to have the opportunity to work at Florence Fire Department and continue his education in all aspects of the fire service and EMS. Kyle is joined by his parents, Shelley and Rick, girlfriend Kendall, and his brother, Brandon. Firefighter EMT Evan Kearns started his fire and EMS career as an intern at the Verona Fire Protection District his senior year of high school. He has worked there for the last 3 years and obtained his EMT license last fall through St. E. Evan is very eager to serve the city of Florence and begin his career. Evan is joined by his mother Michelle, his dad Larry, and his brother Aiden. Paramedic Kyle Wilhite grew up in Crestline, California. He began his EMS career in 2021 as an EMT with American Medical Response in Hemet, California. He completed his paramedic training program at Crafton Hills College in San Bernardino County, California. In late 2024, shortly thereafter, he transferred to a division of AMR in Erlanger, Kentucky. Paramedic Wilhite is thrilled to serve the city of Florence and is excited to learn and advance toward eventually a firefighter certification. He is joined today by his wife Michaela and son Landon. Firefighter paramedic Eric Van Meter is from Burlington, Kentucky. He went through Gateway Community College his junior year of high school while volunteering with Ludlow Fire Department. He earned his EMT license and continued his education by obtaining his paramedic license in 2022. Eric is excited to continue his career with the Florence Fire Department. Mayor Abishai.
All right, so we're going to have you raise your right hand. And I give you the oath of office. Do you solemnly swear that you'll support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, so long as you continue to be a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of either firefighter EMT, paramedic, or firefighter paramedic for the city of Florence according to law? And do you further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, that you, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it, nor have you sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help you God? I do. All right, congratulations. I know I got a couple of chuckles. Some of y'all are not Kentuckians and don't know that that is our official oath of office, but welcome and congratulations, and thank you all to the families for being here and supporting them, and we welcome them to our family, and so we're just so glad that you shared them with us, and they will do a great job, and they will join a great group of firefighters that we already have here and paramedics, so congratulations.
You got your life. Yeah, I'm the same way. Stands out.
All right, guys, tighten up, tighten up. Let's take pictures if you want.
Everybody that's my smile.
Yes, they have. Never agreed with it. These are
If anyone would like to pin their badges on, please come up and do so.
Hopefully you brought Band-Aids. Free Band-Aids?
Oh, I love it. When he came up with that, I thought it was great.
I remember the day that this Faye and Monk Myers were showing me the dishwasher. The Heritage Steakhouse.
It's funny. It's another thing.
That was my first real job where I got everything. Oh, it was the go-to place in the county for sure. Had great food.
I know it. I had saved mine, so I actually asked.
They had the one guy, it was from Scotland.
Thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to move forward with our next item on our agenda. That is a discussion and possible action of a municipal order approving a certain amendment to the Copic Paramedic Pilot Program. So we'll give it just a second here. You got that.
Just that portion, I didn't do the.
Thank you, Mayor. The amendment to the Copic grant, the Copic grant, if you remember right, is part of the community paramedicine program that we started back a few months ago. The Copic grant is what is paying for all of the cost of the program which St. Elizabeth secured. This addendum is just a way of us to cover some of the cost of the certifications for the people. This is just giving us an extra $5,000 to cover the cost that we have incurred from the program. So this is $5,000 to the city of Florence for this, is what this is. If anyone has any further questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Is there any questions for Chief Wren?
Okay, so just to make it clear, these are funds that are coming to the city that we are accepting.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
We will be expending those funds on supplies.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's not monies that we are dedicating to the.
Oh,
Yes,
correct,
I was just
correct,
clarifying.
yes, yes. Any other questions? Is there any interest in, let's see, putting it on the agenda?
Yes.
All right. I'm seeing some head nodding, so I'll go ahead and read Municipal Order MO 10, 2025. This is municipal order approving a certain amendment to the Copic Paramedicine Pilot Program Grant Contractor Agreement for Services and Memorandum of Understanding between St. Elizabeth Medical Center Incorporated, doing business as St. Elizabeth Healthcare, and the Florence Fire EMS. Is there a motion to approve the municipal order? Mr. Nguyen? Second by Mr. Schneider. Is there discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Wingo?
Yes.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Cable?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 6-0.
All right, so if you would just give us a brief moment here to get set up for our hearing. You hurt your hand there? Do you have my copy?
Mike? And Jeremy, do you have to do anything to get the pictures lined up? On the-
Should be.
Okay, that's fine. We can sit over there. Good evening.
So we will proceed with the foreclosure hearing in consideration of resolution number 001-2025 from the Florence Code Enforcement Board. This is pertaining to 37 Goodrich Avenue in Florence, Kentucky. Is the property owner here present? Anyone here to represent the property owner? If not, Mr. Nienaber,
Okay,
you're representing the city?
that is correct.
Or you're representing the Code Enforcement Board?
The city and the Code Enforcement Board. This proceeding is required by the city's Code Enforcement Ordinance 03305 and by KRS Chapter 65. The city of Florence, some years ago, adopted a code enforcement ordinance which has certain provisions for proceedings against property owners that violate the code enforcement ordinance.
Mr. Nienaber, could you move the mic closer to you, please?
Sure.
And maybe angle it up a little.
Is that better?
If you would like, you could come to the podium.
Okay.
Might be easier, actually.
And this proceeding is for City Council to act as a judgment body to determine whether or not the Code Enforcement Board's recommendation that a civil proceeding be initiated against the property located at 37 Goodridge Avenue in Florence, Kentucky. In April of 2025, the Code Enforcement Board was given a recommendation by Jeremy Clyer from the Public Works Department that a recommendation be sent to City Council for the purpose of authorizing a civil proceeding to be initiated against the property owner, Burge A. Travis III. The violations which are the subject matter of this action go back approximately 26 months. In all, there were 102 violations and liens filed as a result that have covered that 24-month period. And as we sit here tonight, and you will see pictures, as we stand here tonight, the property is still in serious violation of the code enforcement ordinance. The responsibility of City Council is to judge whether or not the recommendation submitted by the Code Enforcement Board should be adopted and whether or not a civil proceeding should be initiated against the property owner to take care of the issues that are there at the property. Tonight, as of tonight, there is approximately $39,000 in liens, violations, fines, and city costs. It is incumbent upon City Council, and the mayor does not participate in the deliberations, just council members. It is incumbent upon council to determine whether or not the following criteria are present with respect to this particular case. I have provided you in Exhibit 1 an outline of what those criteria are. The criteria, first, was the property owner, the violator, given his proper notice as required by the Code Enforcement Ordinance? You will hear that that was accurate. Number 2 is that whether or not a civil suit seeking monetary damages and judicially ordered sale of the property is an appropriate course of action given the facts of this particular case. You will have to determine whether or not the violator has demonstrated indifference to or a complete disregard of the zoning ordinance and has refused to comply with that ordinance. You must determine whether or not the violations constitute a present danger to the public health, safety, and welfare and/or the residents in the vicinity, or if it materially interferes with the peaceful enjoyment of the adjoining property owners. You must determine whether or not there was an appropriate period of time that these violations continued, and you must reflect and compare the amount of time that they existed with respect to the severity of the violations. And you have to find, as a matter of fact, whether or not there have been 3 violations of the same code enforcement provision. After you hear the proof here tonight, you will be asked to go back into the room in the back, council members only, and deliberate and make a decision under the Kentucky Revised Statutes and our zoning ordinance you are required to make findings of fact. And then a municipal order will or will not be entered based upon your findings of fact and recommendation. You have a number of different options. You can adopt the recommendation submitted by the Code Enforcement Board back in April, as is. You can refuse to adopt that recommendation, or you can take your own action with respect to the property and make your own decision in terms that you feel are appropriate under the circumstances. At this time, I would like to call my first witness, which is Jeremy Clyer. Or if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Can we ask as people are
If
coming
you
up
like.
to present?
If
Okay.
you like.
Mr. Clark, you're going to swear him in, or?
Please?
Swear Mr. Clark in?
Yes. Go ahead, Mayor, you can swear him in.
Do you have-
Or Melissa.
Melissa will do it.
Mr. Clyer, raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Would you state your full name, please?
Yes, Jeremy Clyer.
Okay. And you are employed by the city?
I am. I'm
In what capacity?
a superintendent in Public Services Department.
In your capacity as superintendent, had you occasion to make a recommendation to the Code Enforcement Board with respect to the property located at 37 Goodridge, Florence, Kentucky?
Yes, I did.
And that recommendation was submitted to you on April the 2nd, 2025?
Correct.
Jeremy, I would refer you to Exhibit 2 of the packet that I handed out. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
And what is that document?
That is a recommendation from the Code Enforcement Board to send it to City Council for a hearing.
With a recommendation that a foreclosure and civil action be initiated.
Correct.
And that was adopted unanimously?
Yes.
And attached to that recommendation of April 2nd, 2025, there is a report submitted by you, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that report is dated March the 14th of 2024?
2025?
25.
Or 2025, excuse me.
Yes.
Yes. And there are 6 criteria that are listed in your report,
Correct.
and you addressed each of those criteria.
I did.
And was it your recommendation to the Code Enforcement Board that a civil action be initiated with respect to 37 Goodridge,
Yes, it
Florence,
was.
Kentucky? Is that your recommendation here
That
tonight?
is my recommendation.
That's all I have of this witness.
Thank you. You may call your next witness.
Michael Macaluso.
Mr. Macaluso, raise your right hand, please. Sir, do you swear to tell the whole truth, the testimony you're about to receive is best to the correct of your knowledge and belief that you know? All right.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Would you state your full name for the record, please?
Mike Macaluso,
And where are you employed?
the city of Florence, Kentucky.
And what is your capacity at the City of Florence?
I am a code enforcement officer.
And how long have you been a code enforcement officer?
8 years.
Have you been a continuous code enforcement officer for the period in question here, beginning June the 12th, 2023 through the present?
I was not the original officer. I took the case over due to a officer taking another position. I took over. It was reassigned to me on June 16th of 2023.
But you've been an officer that entire period of time?
Correct.
Mike, I would draw your attention to Exhibit 3. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And you prepared that at my request?
It wasn't me. It comes from our administration department through Brandy Roundtree, but I requested it for you.
And what is Exhibit 3?
This is a summary of all fines and fees associated with 37 Goodridge, including dates, citation number, and the violation in which we cited it under.
And that Exhibit 3 is an accurate representation of all citations and liens issued against 37 Goodridge from the period beginning June 12, 2023 through the present?
To my best of knowledge, that is correct.
And what is the total amount of liens, fines, costs, and the city expense with respect to 37 Goodrich as we stand here tonight?
The total fine and amount due is $39,872.00.
And each one of those violations that you noted in Exhibit 3 represent citations and liens issued against?
That is correct.
I would next draw your attention to Exhibit 4, a number of photographs. Do you recognize those?
Yes, sir.
Explain what those are, Michael.
These are photographs coming from my actual case notes from my time on the case. You'll notice that there are various dates throughout the years, but these are all the photos that I took to document the case.
Who's in charge of the, please? Yes, please. And Mike, describe these photos as we go
Yeah, so
through
these
them.
are some of our most recent ones, and you can see the date and time in which they were taken, but this is the current state of that property. As you can see, this is the front part of the property. The house that you see now is the actual house next to it, but the grass is 3+ feet tall.
Mr.
what-
Macaluso, the lot that was mowed was not the subject property, correct?
The lot that's in the front ground, yes,
Yeah,
that is
not
the.
the subject property.
Correct,
That is
yeah.
a neighboring property.
Where the grass is, where it goes from short to tall, that is the property line.
And Michael, how tall is the grass there right now?
3+ feet tall. And it varies throughout the property, but it's well over our 8-inch requirement.
Okay, next picture there, Josh, please.
That is the city right-of-way. As you can see, it's obstructing the sidewalk and starting to grow out into the street.
And again, that's 37 Goodrich, correct?
Correct.
Next, please.
Again, that is the actual physical house of just the grass completely covering the whole entire front yard.
Next, please.
Additional photos of it.
Now, Michael, there's no pictures of the backyard. What does the back look like?
The back is exactly like that. The back has never changed. And you will hear through our testimony that the front has changed a little bit through the years. The back has never changed. It has always been excessive growth.
Next picture, please. Next.
So this is a photo, and again, I am on the right-of-way. I've tried to zoom in. What you see is a refrigerator sitting out in the front yard, or what appears to be a refrigerator. What you can't see because the grass is so long is trash bags. I believe there's either a washer or a dryer out there, and just excessive trash at or near the porch.
Next, please. Is it? Okay.
You'll have to refer back to the photos.
Okay, go back to Exhibit 4 in your packet. I see a photograph dated July the 9th of 2024.
That is correct.
And what is that picture?
That is the trash. The property was mowed in the front, exposing all this trash. And you can see the excessive amount of trash bags and litter that are in the front yard and on the porch.
And Mike, next picture, please.
Is that the one of the porch, I believe?
Yes.
So yeah, that's a zoomed in photo of the porch. Again, just trash bags and litter on the front porch and in and around that front area.
Mr. Macaluso, it does appear that the gutters may be off as well.
Yeah,
that
so
correct?
the front fascia board has since fallen off in the last couple months, and the gutter has actually fallen off as well. These are not violations that we have actually cited because they are of recent violations.
Now, Mike, we've got two different dates that you have demonstrated here with these pictures.
Correct.
Do you have other photos in your file at the office that you have taken over the last 25 months or so?
I've got some from May of 23, March of 31. We do have, I tried to give a good representation. I believe we do have a few others, but it would be of the same caliber photos.
Mike, is it safe to say that the photos that we have shown here tonight are not incidental or rare occasions? This is pretty much what it looks like on a constant basis?
This would be a fair representation of what the last 26 or so months have been.
Now, Mike, you mentioned that you don't go on the property to take photographs.
That is correct.
And why is that?
Two reasons. Fourth Amendment violation. We really try to stay on the right-of-way as all possible. But the second, we've had some issues with the individual living there. When I took over the case, Officer Dina was the original officer on the case. When I took it over, he warned me of an altercation that the property owner and him got into, a verbal altercation. Our police department has also warned me of this individual and was concerned of my safety being on the property. We had on June 16th, coming back off of a vacation, I had an email from our city contractor that this individual assaulted some of their individuals, or at least attempted to. In the email, he used the word weapon was used. We do have a police report. I do not see anything of a weapon, but there was documentation of some sort of altercation. So with all that, we decided that for my safety, we would not be on the property. There is a pine tree at the right-of-way. We tape it to all citations to that tree. We've also had contact from mom and dad of the property owner stating that they are concerned of our safety and would advise us not to enter the property.
And is that Exhibit 6? You said there was a police report, I believe, about...
That is correct. We contacted our police department to get this information.
And as a result of that, you do not go on or near the property?
That is correct.
Now, I want you to go to Exhibit 7.
Okay.
And do you recognize that?
Looks like it's a notice of hearing for recommendation for foreclosure.
And that was given to Mr. Travis
To
by
my-
service on the 21st day of March 2025, correct?
To my best of knowledge, that is the case.
Okay. And I would like for you to go to Exhibit number 8. And that is the notice that was sent to Mr. Travis for this hearing here this evening, July the 8th of 2025.
That is correct.
And that notice was served upon Mr. Travis.
To my best of knowledge, that is correct.
Michael, when you give a citation
Yes, sir.
or issue a citation, what would you, or how would you deliver that citation?
So typically, we would try to, in normal circumstances, we would try to knock on the door and make contact with the individual. If we can work out some sort of an agreement at the door, we always try to help our residents. The last thing we want to do is issue citations. Unfortunately, in some circumstances, we do have to issue citations.
Have you properly issued a citation in every instance?
Per our ordinance, I have to post it to the property, and all citations were posted to the property.
So Mr. Travis received all proper notices for the citations, for the April 2nd hearing before Code Enforcement Board, and for this hearing here tonight.
To my best of knowledge, that is correct.
Has Mr. Travis, to your knowledge, ever filed an appeal from any of the proceedings relating to these code enforcement citations?
To my knowledge, he has not. We've even subpoenaed him to a code enforcement board, and he was a no-show.
Do you ever recall Mr. Travis appearing at any of the code enforcement proceedings?
Not as me being an active officer, he has never appeared.
Okay. Now, looking at Exhibit 9. Those are proposed findings of fact or suggested findings of fact that I prepared. Have you read those?
Yes, sir.
Are the findings that are contained in Exhibit 9 accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, sir.
Okay. Is it your request and the request of the Public Services that City Council authorize a civil proceeding against Mr. Travis in order to take care of the property?
That is correct.
Over the past few months, have you received any complaints from neighbors, adjoining property owners, et cetera?
I have been physically talked to while issuing citations. I've been called. I believe an individual's here tonight that would like to express his concerns of the property.
What was the general nature of those complaints that you received from neighbors?
Initially frustrated at me on why I'm not doing enough, but being able to speak with the individuals and trying to explain to them that there is a process that we have to go through. Still frustrated at the property, but understood that we as the city were trying to do everything we could to bring some sort of resolution.
I would refer you to Exhibit 10, which was a suggested municipal order that I prepared. Have you read that?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree with what that municipal order recommends?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mike, I'm going to ask you 6 questions, and I'd like for you to give me your professional opinion based upon your training and experience as a code enforcement officer.
Okay.
Was Mr. Travis given proper notice of all violations and these proceedings as required by the city's ordinance and Kentucky revised statutes?
To my best of knowledge, he was.
Do you believe that a civil action should be initiated against Mr. Travis to bring the property into compliance?
I do.
Do you believe that the property owner has demonstrated an indifference to or disregard for the necessity of compliance with Florence's code?
I do.
Do you believe that the violations over the last 25 months or so, totaling 102, do you believe that constitutes a present danger to the public health, safety, or welfare of the residents in the vicinity and/or materially interfering with the peaceful enjoyment of property owners adjacent to the property in question?
I do.
Do you believe that the period of time in relation to the type of violation and the number of violations dictates that civil proceeding be initiated?
I do.
And have there been more than 3 violations of the same code enforcement violation by Mr. Travis in the last 25 or so months?
There has.
That's all I have of this witness.
Thank you. Do you have another witness?
Please?
Do you have another witness?
I do not. I believe that there may be a property owner.
If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? You could please raise your right hand.
Sir, can you state your name and
Brandon Mitchell.
Brandon Mitchell?
And your address, please.
It's at 42 Goodrich Drive. That's my grandfather's address, so I grew up on that street. He still lives there. I'm here to advocate for him.
Okay. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge
I
and
do.
belief? Thank you.
City Council members, I'm here tonight to express a serious frustration and concern regarding persistent neglected property at 37 Goodrich. This resident is in clear violation of the City of Florence Property Maintenance Code and chronic nuisance for years. This property has been a blatant violation of the city codes, and conditions include the overgrown grass and weeds, creating a fire hazard and breeding ground for pests, trash and debris scattered on the roof signaling serious neglect and potential structural risks, yard full of junk, broken appliances, and miscellaneous debris, creating health and hazard, dragging down appearance and property values of our entire neighborhood. What's most troubling is that there's been an issue ongoing, and it appeared no apparent progress or enforcement was taken. It's hard to understand how it's been allowed to continue, and frankly, what point does it become a slap in the face to the enforcement officer? Those who are tasked with upholding the ordinances when nothing is done and clear violations are allowed to persist. If the city has codes on the books, then they must be enforced. Otherwise, what's the point? The situation sends a message that neglect and disregard of the community standards will be tolerated, and the message is unacceptable. The city has attempted to take measures that involve cleaning up the property, and that attempt has failed. Something must be done before we experience a tragedy like the one that recently occurred in Triple Crown. Is this what we want our neighborhoods to look like? Is this a level of enforcement we'll now tolerate? That's the message being sent. I'm calling on the city to take immediate action. The residents of the community deserve better. We deserve a clean, safe, and respectful environment, and we deserve a city that stands behind its rules.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? At this time, council will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 60.
Are we able to ask questions?
Sure,
Yes.
yes. Ms. Chambers?
The 102 violations, how many different violations is that?
There,
It's the same 2 violations that are persistent current today.
And they
It's
are?
high weeds and grass and trash and debris.
It's 102 occurrences.
We've issued physical citations to the property, 102, correct. And there's 2 different violations.
How often do you do that?
It varies. So we initially started it weekly, give or take, depending on scheduling and stuff like that. We did escalate it for a time of period to try to gain compliance, and that failed. And then we went a period where we weren't issuing citations at all because we got some local churches involved and hoped that it would bring compliance, and unfortunately that failed. So then we started citations again.
So you have not spoken with the resident?
I have not.
And we know for sure that there is a person living here?
I would assume so. We've been in contact with the mother and the father, and they have confirmed that he is a resident at that property.
Ms. Chambers, do you have any other questions?
No, not for the second.
Is there anyone else on council that desires
I
questions?
do. So you stated that you had posted citations, but you've posted them on a tree?
That's correct.
Okay. And based on Exhibit 2, page, well, it's page, it says page 2 on it, but it's page 4. Number 3, it does state that the mother warned about the son's mental health and violent tendencies. With that in mind, I know it also states that Katie James has also tried to work with the property owner to help clean up the area. But at what point, if we are not speaking with the person who's living there, that we're actually doing all the steps necessary to ensure that we are in compliance with potential ADA and fair housing?
So I'm not an expert at that. I'd have to
I think
refer to
that's more of a,
Mr. Nienaber.
yeah, Mr. Nienaber question.
I can tell you that I have communicated with both parents over the last few months on more than one occasion. And I have been told that proceedings have been attempted for a commitment, and every time that's been tried, the courts had said or ruled that a commitment is not appropriate.
At family court?
No, in district court,
Okay.
where they have the medical team professionals come in. And time again, there has been a finding that there is not grounds to have a commitment made. Now,
Okay.
that was communicated to me by one of the parents. And both parents have told me in no uncertain terms that they can't control them. And they can't, and there have been threats and whatnot made, and there has been I guess you might say, a washing of the hands, and we're done with it, and we can't do anything. So,
Mr. Nieder, I want to clarify what you're saying. Are you saying that the parents went to a court to determine if this person was of not sound mental abilities, so that they could proceed with, I don't want to say forcing, but getting some help for this person, and the judge has ruled that
all I know is what I've been told.
that it was not applicable in this case?
And I was told that they attempted to have a guardian conservator, limited conservator, whatever. There's a laundry list of different appointments that can be made. And they've done it more than once. And in each occasion, there was no commitment or appointment or whatever. No.
And this is just based on conversations that you've had with them? There's not been like documentation provided?
That is not our responsibility.
It's not.
It's not our responsibility to delve into that. I'm not a medical professional, so I can't comment on Mr. Travis's mental capabilities. All I know is that you can't work with him. He won't. You know, I know that, was it the church that went out there the one day
That is correct.
and cut the grass, made it look great? I was in the neighborhood, it was either the next day or the day after. And I just thought, I'm going to go by and see how it looks. Drove by the property. There were bags of trash, just like the pictures you saw, out in the front yard. And there was some kind of appliance. I thought it was an appliance. It was a metal box. It was black. And it was out in the front yard. And that was just within a day, 2 days at the most.
So the church had come and cleaned everything up, there's no garbage on the property at that
Oh,
point in time when
yes,
they
it
left?
was,
They tried. They got about 2/3 of the way done, and I don't exactly know what happened. They walked off the property and refused to come back.
Any other questions from council? Ms. Wingo?
I just want to clarify that in some of the documents that we were given, there were comments made that there were threats made against our contractor.
That is correct.
Who, when we have these situations, we will send a contractor in to mow the lawn, and then we put the cost of that service against the property, and that they were threatened, so they left. I think, the comment was made about, we don't need another Triple Crown.
Obviously.
And I'm just saying, so threats have been made there. There was a threat made to one of our code enforcement officers. I don't think it's safe, in my opinion, with 2 incidents that have been documented, to have our code enforcement officers continually going up and trying to knock on the door. I'm just saying, those have been documented, and I think that's something that we have to take into consideration with this gentleman's refusal to cooperate.
So there was a subpoena issued for him to show up?
yes.
So I'm confused, like, when a person doesn't comply with a subpoena, is there not, action against that person for not complying with this?
We can, and I'll let Mr. Nienaber speak on that.
Exhibit A is a notice that was directed to Mr. Travis to appear here tonight at 6 o'clock for the purpose of attending this hearing. That was that was issued by Melissa, the clerk, on June the 23rd, 2025. And on Officer, I can't read his handwriting.
Caleb Haitu.
Caleb Haitu served that document, that notice of hearing, upon Mr. Travis, 23rd day of June, 2025.
Ms. Whalen?
I think her question was, there was a subpoena issued for Code Enforcement Board. His
Never-
failure to appear at Code Enforcement, did you issue a subpoena to come to Code?
We did.
So I think what the question was, if we issue a subpoena and he ignores a subpoena, what is the legal ramification of that? If you get a subpoena to appear in district court and you don't show up, then they can issue a warrant for your arrest. I know that's not the path this takes, but what path should it take at that point?
In order for an administrative agency, Code Enforcement Board, to get a court order on failure to abide by a subpoena, they would have to initiate a proceeding in the Boone District Court and get an order from the judge directing the individual who was non-compliant to show cause why he should not be held in contempt, or he or she should not be held in contempt for violating a subpoena. There is a process. It's timely, it's expensive, it's aggravating, and I mean, Mr. Travis was notified of these proceedings before the Code Board. Now, I mean, I go every week almost, and I never saw him there in my entire couple years of representing them, so.
I think the bigger issue, at least as I see it from the different perspectives that I've watched Code Enforcement over the years, is this is not a fast process. Foreclosure is not something that the Code Enforcement Board jumps to. I can probably remember only 2 or 3 in the last 20 years. It's issuing the citations, trying to work with the residents, asking them to fix the problem, offering to help fix the problem, and this becomes, at the end of the day, working with the Code Enforcement Board, telling them that their work that they do and the time that they take very seriously about upholding the property maintenance code is important, and that's why it gets to this point. I think the neighbor probably said it best. It looked like the city wasn't doing anything, and that's never been the case with these issues. The process takes time, and it takes a lot of time to get to this.
I've been attending Code Board meetings for 2-3 years now. And I always say they're too lenient because they aren't in it to collect fines and fees. In, 95% of the cases, if not more, they waive the fines. They waive all the penalties. The only thing the Code Board ever seems to collect are out-of-pockets. And that means if the city hires Acme Landscaping to go cut the grass, or in this case, bush hog, then they charge us $150, they charge the city $150, then we would collect that $150. But the Code Board invariably waives fines and penalties.
So may I ask, in this case, in a situation like this, if it would be a possibility to waive the fees, foreclose on the property, minus the fees that, of course, needs to be recouped for the companies, so that we're not essentially foreclosing on a home and putting somebody on a street who becomes then another statistic of our homeless population. That's my concern.
Well, I think the residents have expressed it quite well. Their concern is they're living in a situation that is a unhealthy situation.
And I agree with that. I'm not negating that. I'm just saying from a standpoint of a homeowner, when you have a house that values at 103 and you're asking for fees, what, $40,000? I mean, if waiving the fees is feasible, is that an option? I guess is what I'm asking.
I guess I'm confused. So the foreclosure is not necessarily about the fines at that point.
But it
It's
goes into it.
We have issued the fines. But I think you're asking, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're saying if the fines were $1,000, but the fees were $500, if he paid $500, that would somehow lower the foreclosure? I guess I don't understand what you're saying.
You reach a point where waiving the fines, waiving the fees and costs and all doesn't do any good, because obviously, Mr. Travis is not going to take care of this property, period. It's that simple. I mean, I've bent over backwards trying to get a deal together months and months ago with Mom and Dad. And the code enforcement, public services have tried, and every time it's blown up on them. You can only do so much.
I think one of the points that Angie might be looking at is you have a person that has $100,000 in equity in this home. And then we turn around and foreclose on the property, hypothetically, and then we take our $40,000 cut. Well, then that leaves him with $60,000 to rebuild his life. So the question is, do we have to make, in the foreclosure process, do we keep that at $40,000 or are we permitted to lower that amount?
That's up to council.
When I can tell you for a fact, the last foreclosure that we did, we actually sat down and worked out a payment plan agreement to allow that homeowner to pay the fines, avoid the foreclosure, and fix the house. None of it happened.
Thanks for reminding me of that,
Nothing happened. They did not make the payments on
Councilperson
the...
They
Whalen.
still continue to have a
Yes.
tree growing
So-
out of a car in the backyard.
We entered into an agreement with that property owner after the lawsuit was filed.
Yep.
And we had a formal contract, and it lasted a week,
Maybe a month.
maybe a month, and there we were, back at square one. The property owner said, okay, I'll clean the property up, I'll keep it in a decent state of repair, and it makes this property right on even Steven with it. It was bad. And we worked out an agreement, and it got us nowhere.
And you do. You waive the fines.
Yes.
And you try to collect the fees, and you work out the whole deal. But when there is unwillingness on the part of the property owner to make any effort, even when you do that, it makes it even more difficult to go back and do it again.
So the answer is no. If we vote to do the foreclosure, there's not a way to lessen the
There is a way to
$40,000.
negotiate it.
Yes, there
Yes,
is.
absolutely.
That is the question.
If they want to enter into some kind of an agreement or an opportunity to pay the fees but not the fines and, promise to make it all right and improve the property.
Well, I'm
But you're
saying, in
it's
my
worth-
scenario, even if they don't agree to do it, right? Even if, let's say, we never hear from this guy, are we always going to take $40,000 as our cut whenever this home sells? Or are we able to take a lesser amount so that the person will retain some equity?
You'd have to assume the house would sell for $40,000
Yeah,
at this point.
I
mean,
don't think it will.
yeah. The way we worked out one, couple years ago, maybe, it was, they owed, oh golly, It was a lot of money, $50,000. I can't remember the amount. And we said, we will settle this if you pay us $7,500. Make the payments, keep the house up. If you miss a payment, or if you get another code violation, the judgment turns into the $50,000. So you've got that proverbial sword of Damocles, hovering there to enforce the agreement that you've got. And in that one case, worked out. I mean, they made every payment like clockwork.
Tom, as you know, it's a game for most of these folks. They're just trying to kick that can down the road as
Yeah.
far as they can, say what they gotta say, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that, and it doesn't happen.
It doesn't. At least my experience, it happened once. I was pleasantly surprised. It worked. But that's,
Council does have, options. They can deliberate and
at a later time.
make a recommendation.
I mean, and I'll address that now. I have prepared suggested findings of fact. If you don't agree with those findings of fact after what you heard tonight, then disregard them and come up with your own. But you have to come up with findings of fact. And the findings of fact have to address those criteria that we mentioned that are in our ordinance and the statutes. If you authorize the civil action, and we file it in a month, and we get up to the point where we're trying to get our judgment, I will keep everyone informed, and at that point, it's up to council to say, go with it, or whatever.
Will citations continue to be issued on this property as we move forward through the process?
That's up to code enforcement. I mean, can they? Yes. Do they have to? No. But yes, they can.
Is there any other questions from council?
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? As I would love
believe
to
I
hear
asked
from
that.
anyone else.
I believe I'd asked that.
You're free to speak. Anybody that wants to.
Seeing none, and no other questions from council? I have a request for a motion to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8101C litigation, proposed or pending against or behalf of the city. Is there a motion? Mr. Nguyen?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wingo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Council will recess to the caucus room for a few minutes for, I don't know for how long, I shouldn't say for a few minutes for deliberation, and they will come back into session following closed session.
I would like to formally make a part of the record in this proceeding
Motion to come back into session by Ms. Whalen, second by Mr. Nguyen. All in favor? Any opposed? Vice Mayor Whalen, do you have a report?
We considered our findings of fact, went through them, and after much discussion, a lot of concern on our parts and everybody's parts, because we know this isn't easy for anybody, and this is not where we want things to go, but our findings of fact, we are in agreement with. The findings of fact as presented in Exhibit 9, and we present to council as part of the record a unanimous vote of council to begin the foreclosure proceedings in accordance with municipal order.
No, we don't. I don't know what it would be.
It'll be MO 11.
MO 11, 2025. And this is a municipal order authorizing and directing the city attorney to file suit seeking judgment for unpaid civil fines and the sale of the subject property 37 Goodridge in satisfaction of the judgment. And do you need this? And the findings of fact for that municipal order are: this matter came on for hearing before the Florence City Council on July 8th, 2025 at 6 p.m. regarding Burr Travis III, 37 Goodridge, Florence, Kentucky, pursuant to ordinance number 03305. After hearing and consideration of all evidence submitted, the Florence City Council makes the following findings of fact and recommendation. 1, Burr Travis III has received proper notice of all violations and hearings as required by the City of Florence Code Enforcement Ordinance. 2, currently there are 102 code enforcement liens filed against 37 Goodridge Drive, Florence, Kentucky. In all, there have been 102 citations issued against 37 Goodridge, Florence, Kentucky. 4, Burr Travis III has not taken any reasonable efforts to comply with the code enforcement ordinance, and he has demonstrated a continuous refusal to comply by his conduct and inaction. 5, Burr Travis III has allowed 37 Goodridge, Florence, Kentucky to reach such a state of disrepair that it constitutes a present danger and nuisance to the public at large, and particularly to the residents in the vicinity of 37 Goodridge Drive, Florence, Kentucky. 6, Burr Travis III's disregard and refusal to comply with the code enforcement ordinance has persisted over an extended period in excess of 2 years. He has shown no indication that he will ever attempt to reasonably comply with code enforcement ordinance and or prior agreements. 7, Burr Travis III has never filed a formal appeal for any code enforcement board action. 8, Burr Travis III has received over 3 of the same violations which have been found to exist for an extended period of time. 9, filing a civil suit seeking money damages and foreclosure against Burr Travis III would be appropriate under the circumstances and the only course of action available to the city at this time. And 10, as of July 8th, 2025, hearing there is total due and owing the city for fines, penalties, costs, fees, and liens charges in the amount of $39,872. The amount of $35,000 is due and owing for fines, and $4,872 is due and owing for lien expense and city out-of-pocket expense. Recommendation: based upon the findings of fact, the Florence City Council hereby recommends that a municipal order be entered directing the following. 1, the city attorney be and is hereby authorized and directed to immediately initiate a civil proceeding against Burr Travis III for collection of all outstanding fines, penalties, interest, costs, attorney's fees, and any and all other charges permitted under the Code Enforcement Ordinance and/or Kentucky Revised Statutes. 2, the civil proceeding is directed to recover all monetary damages incurred by the city, seek an order of judgment directing the sale of property located at 37 Goodridge Drive, Florence, Kentucky, and to seek any and all other relief as may be permitted and authorized under the Code Enforcement Ordinances and/or Kentucky Revised Statute. And it is signed by all of the council members as a yes. So we do have a motion.
We need a motion.
No, We do not have a motion. We
I
have,
make a motion that we approve municipal order MO 11,
2025.
2025.
Motion by Ms. Whalen, second by Mr. Nguyen. Is there any discussion? Ms. Cable?
I do want to say this was a very hard decision to make, because I know that I never want to evict or foreclose on someone's home. I hope that this does spark Travis Burr III to reach out and remedy the situation. And from there, that was my decision. That's why I voted the way I did.
Anyone else? Any other discussion? Ms. Chambers?
I want to second the things that Ms. Cable said, and just, this is to give the neighbors the safety that they deserve. And I hope, as Angie said, that this is not, does not end up with the result of someone not having a home. I hope that everything works out better than we anticipate at this moment.
Thank you, Ms. Chambers. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Wingo? Yes. Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Cable?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 6-0.
For the mayor's report, invite everyone to join me for cookies and conversation with the mayor this Thursday, July 10th at 2 p.m. It's another informal conversation over lemonade and cookies. It's a great opportunity to ask questions and share ideas and stay connected. We will have members of each department there to answer your department-specific questions as well. Join us for Christmas in July at the Florence Aquatic Center on Friday, July 25th. This is always a great event, well-attended, and it's a lot of fun, and I think Santa might come and bring some presents or something like that in the form of giveaways. The craft show and art and vendor festival is scheduled for Saturday, August 2nd from 9 to 2 at Bell Park at the historic fire station on Main Street in Florence. Parking will be available at Florence Christian Church and the Church of Scientology near the festival. For more information, please contact the Administration Department at 859-647-8177. I actually want to clarify, I think this Church of Scientology will be where the car show will be held. And we will have parking also available at the Brighton Center lot. So it should be a great event. We had over 120 vendors reach out. I don't know that we'll be able to get them all in, but we're going to try to get as many as we can, and I think it'll be a great showing. We will have our photo contest winners there on display as well, so you can come check those out. The City of Florence will host a National Night Out on Tuesday, August 5th from 5 to 7. The event will be held here at the Florence Government Center. The Police Department, Public Services Department, and Fire EMS Department will have equipment on display. There will be vendors and food will be provided to attendees. It's a great opportunity to connect with city officials, city personnel, and council members. Is there anyone on council who desires recognition? Is there anyone in the audience who stayed with us? Stacy, no. All right. We do have a request of motion to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8101C litigation, proposed or pending against or on behalf of the city. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Whalen, second by Ms. Wingo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will return to this room to adjourn. We do not anticipate any further business taking place following the closed session. Thank you.